This is a really odd piece to be staring at. This is a skid steer mount, or the front mount, for a 304K loader or 204K loader. Now, why are you staring at that? Clearly, I don't own one of those machines. Brand new, they're about $100,000 or a little over, at least the 304 is. But I happened to be in Deere a couple weeks ago now, 4 weeks ago now, and I walked by one and I noticed it was a skid steer plate, but instead of the normal handles like the 4066 has, it had these two red handles, and then on the red handles it had an electric actuator like this right here. So began the process of trying to find to see if one of these kits would work on the 4066, and actually they do, or they should. This may be just a fantastic disaster, but they should work on the 4066. So what we're going to do is what I'm going to do is we're going to replace these two handles right here with the two red ones, and then we're going to install the electric actuator, and then I'm going to run a switch to the cab so I don't have to get on and off the tractor to take attachments on and off. So I'm going to get everything unboxed and I'll show you what I'm going to do. This is probably going to be a multi-part series because I know it's going to take me a while. I don't have any wires yet. The kit doesn't come with wires, and I'll kind of explain my reasoning behind why I ordered this 344 pounds worth of steel here versus just the actuator and the two red tabs. So let me get set up here, and then I'll come back and I'll tell you the little backstory behind it, and then we'll go ahead and get busy. All right, so how did this all come to be? A little backstory on it, and how I ended up with this whole piece of steel sitting in front of me. After I saw the linear actuator on the 304K loader and the skid steer plate, which this is actually an upgrade. In all my research, I found out that the skid steer plate is actually an upgrade over the J series loaders. I think the K series has been out a couple years now. They're actually really nice units. I actually drove one, or I would say I really didn't operate it, but I played a little bit with it while I was testing out the hydraulic or the electric actuator. But anyway, I got to doing the research, parts numbers and everything, and really what you need, the overall mechanism inside the steel is pretty much exactly the same between this mount and these mounts. What is different is these arms right here, which are replaced with the red part, and then you have this linear actuator here. So I was like, okay, so let's see if I can price out the two red tabs and the linear actuator. Well, if you price those out, by the time you get done, tax and everything else, I think you're looking at like $1,300 for just those two parts. Meanwhile, that's a lot of money for doing this. Meanwhile, you can actually get this whole assembly for less. I paid less than $1,000 for this whole assembly. So that is why I ordered this whole assembly over ordering just the parts. Now that seems really just asinine, but it's what I did. Now, this is a very expensive upgrade. I'm not saying anybody needs to do it. This happens to be just something I wanted to do. Now, maybe I can sell some parts or something like that off this deal. I have no idea if I can or not. We'll see. But anyway, I'm going to take the red tabs off of this unit and the linear actuator and install them on mine. Now, the couple of issues that we might have is the fact that these two plates are independent. So if there's nothing on the front of the loader here, there's nothing really keeping these two plates tied to each other in terms of tilt. And you can actually, I don't know if you can see it yet, I may have to get in the tractor and move it. But these two cylinders, I mean, they're independent. This whole system is independent. There's nothing that ties them together. It may be I need to get a full rod that goes across the front, something along those lines. I'm not really sure. That's going to be something I kind of have to just figure out. If it's attached to something, there's not going to be any stress on the actuator, that's going to be that. Now, the key thing here is the actuator. So to come back to the actuator, part number AT424407, you can see the specs right there. Push and pulls 4,500 newtons, which equates to about 1,100 pounds, maybe just 1,000 pounds. I haven't done my Newton conversion in a while. I think it's 1,100 pounds. 1,100 pounds of push-pull force. And that's the linear actuator. This linear actuator in and of itself at Deere is close to $1,000 if you order it by itself. Now that may just seem absurd for a linear actuator. I know a lot of folks that watch my videos are used to linear actuators for garden tractors to move snowblowers, stuff like that. This is a substantially larger linear actuator. Something with very similar specs is probably, unless you're buying it on a commercial account, I'm guessing going to run you close to $500. So, you know, it's not like this is a rinky-dink electric actuator that Deere's, you know, asking, 10 times what it's actually worth. They're marketing it up 50%, maybe 100%. I really don't know how much. I mean, obviously Deere's probably going to get them cheaper. But I mean, it is what it is in this case. It was easier for me to buy this whole kit, like I said, that way I get the two red tabs than not. So what I'm going to do is we're actually going to, I'll show you on this one, you have to take these roll pins out right here, then we can take these pins out. That should loosen up that so we can undo these springs back in here. Those are just bolts, if the camera will focus. And then what we can do is we will then be able to switch out the red tabs for the black tabs. I'll put the black tabs back on this one, and we'll go from there. That way all the parts stay in one piece. So yeah, I'll show you. I'm going to take the red tabs off first, and then I'll take the black handles off.